Prince George, the dashing royal heartthrob of the Roaring Twenties, and Kiki Preston, the scandalous socialite nicknamed the girl with the silver syringe, shared a love story that defied the boundaries of royalty and rebellion. Their romance, set against the backdrop of jazz clubs, high society, and the looming shadow of addiction, remains one of the most tumultuous and tragic chapters of royal history. But behind their glamour and infamy lies a tale of passion, heartbreak, and secrets that endured long after their fates diverged. Prince George, the younger son of King George V and brother to future kings Edward VIII and George VI, was as notorious for his charm as he was for his reckless behavior. Handsome, charismatic, and frequently at odds with the rigid expectations of royal life, he earned the moniker Gorgeous Georgie. In the 1920s, George found himself in Paris, far removed from the disapproving eyes of his father. Having recently parted ways with the Royal Navy, allegedly due to seasickness but more likely due to his wild conduct, George was free to immerse himself in the libertine world of Parisian high society. It was here that he met Kiki Preston, born Alice Gwynn, an American heiress from the Vanderbilt lineage and the epitome of Roaring Twenties extravagance. Tall, alluring, and unrestrained, Kiki thrived among the bohemian artists, writers, and jazz enthusiasts who frequented Ada Bricktop Smith's famous club in Pigalle. Her resemblance to Kiki de Montparnasse earned her the nickname, but it was her dangerous penchant for drugs that would define her. Introduced to cocaine and morphine, Kiki quickly became a notorious figure, unapologetically living up to her title as the girl with the silver syringe. Their affair ignited almost immediately, with Kiki drawing George into her world of excess. Their chemistry was undeniable, but so was the chaos that followed. She introduced him to the drugs that would nearly derail his life and his royal reputation. When their illicit relationship became known to King George V, Kiki was banished from Britain, forced to leave the prince she loved behind. Heartbroken but duty-bound, George was sent to Windsor under the supervision of his older brother, Edward, to be weaned off his addiction and prepared for a more respectable life. For a royal family bound by tradition, George's scandalous romance with Kiki was an affront that could not be ignored. Under immense pressure from his family, he ultimately married Princess Marina of Greece in 1934, a match that surprised many by turning into a successful and affectionate union. But while George's public life adhered to royal expectations, his private heart remained tied to Kiki. The whispers of their secret child, born in Switzerland in 1926 and later adopted by an American publisher, added yet another layer of intrigue to their complicated relationship. Kiki's life, however, spiraled further into infamy. She and her husband joined the notorious Happy Valley set in Kenya, a group infamous for its hedonism, drug use, and extramarital affairs. Her addiction grew more brazen, with her openly injecting herself at parties. By now, Kiki's reputation was irredeemable, and her life became a tragic echo of the glamorous, carefree days of her youth. Despite their separation, George and Kiki remained connected. During World War II, George orchestrated a plan with her to improve the living conditions of his brother-in-law, Prince Paul of Yugoslavia, who was under house arrest in Kenya. It was a brief rekindling of their bond, but their reunion was overshadowed by the mounting tragedies that defined their later years. In 1942, George's life came to an abrupt and mysterious end in a plane crash in Scotland. The circumstances surrounding his death remain shrouded in speculation, with some suggesting sabotage. Kiki was devastated, retreating to New York to live a reclusive life in the Stanhope Hotel. Her grief deepened with the death of her son, Ethan Allen, in the Normandy landings and the violent deaths of close friends like the Earl of Erroll and Alice de Jans. On December 23, 1946, overwhelmed by loss and addiction, Kiki ended her life by jumping from the 5th floor of her hotel. She was 48 years old, her once vibrant life reduced to a tragic cautionary tale. But to Prince George, she was forever the love of his life, a connection that defied the expectations of royalty and endured despite the chaos it caused. The story of Prince George and Kiki Preston is one of passion, rebellion, and heartbreak. Their affair, scandalous in its time, shines a light on the fragility of love caught between personal desires and societal constraints. Though their lives ended in tragedy, their bond, shrouded in secrecy and scandal, remains a poignant reminder of the price of defying convention. Their tale lingers as a haunting chapter in royal history, a story of two souls whose love burned bright but could not outlast the shadows of their tumultuous world.